Oh, okay. Oh, really?
What they are.
Good morning again. How many of you do not have a book? Whoa. Pardon? I have a sheet of paper. I don't know if it's going to be big enough now. But I have one book up here. Going once.
Right here.
I'm going to auction it off. Mary, I think you've been waiting a long time for one.
Well, they maybe have to.
No.
Pardon?
Because
I said they may have me waiting too.
Let her have it.
Here, yeah, I'll sit right here.
I do. This big moment, that's the big thing. I'm going to leave it up here on this table. And if you need a book, please put your name. And we will order for the third time. We ordered 50 books. And they were gone. The first 30 were gone the first evening almost. It was kind of scary to know how many to plan on, but 50 is wonderful. You guys, your eyes look beautiful. If we took our mask off, it kind of scared me when she came in with this and said, "This way we'll be able to see your mouth." I thought, oh my word. The lipstick on there. It would be interesting to know if we all just dropped our masks and see what everybody looks like now. Want to try it? It is wonderful, absolutely wonderful to see you all here. There's been a group of us planning this for quite some time. And it's taken a lot of effort on a lot of people's part to get it all to come together. I'll be introducing those people to you in a little bit. I'm a little out of breath this morning, so bear with me. First of all, if you would all check your phones. I hear one buzzing now. At least turn them down so this has been the longest spring break I have ever experienced. If you remember, we dismissed in March of this year, and we're just now coming back together. I've never experienced that before. We've had some strange things happening in our country the last several months. It's wonderful to see everybody. We may have to reintroduce ourselves to one another. With the mask, you may not recognize somebody. We have a new guest over here. She's a friend. Christy has a friend. Yay! And the friend has a beautiful little baby in here. Introduce her.
Oh, sorry. This is L'Oreal, and she's been my friend for like 6 years now. And her baby is baby Sky.
Baby Scott?
Sky.
Sky. Boy? Girl? Boy. Okay. Good. Good. Oh, my goodness. Our first distraction. Okay. I had been approached not long ago with how we would feel if we had a service dog in our midst. Somebody's phone.
Well, I'm expecting to hear from somebody with a surgery, so.
That's okay. Go right ahead.
Well,
The dog was accustomed to going to nursing homes and hospitals that would allow it. And he is very, very social. He's a Doberman. And I was approached with the possibility of the lady, the owner. They are not in need of a service dog, but they have him to do what he does, to visit people. We decided that between dogs and babies, we might be too distracted. Especially if the service dog was going around and sniffing everybody and wanting to be petted. So we kind of thought we would think that over a little bit more. There are several important things we need to establish and go over this morning. Some of them are not popular, I know. Some of you may be affected more by the coronavirus thing than others. Some of you have very strong feelings about the wearing of masks and shields, and some are not so concerned about that. That's okay. Whichever position you're in, we're going to respect it. So we have to lay down some guidelines for this particular class, as any of the other classes. Nothing is going to be perfect. So don't expect perfection with your class situation. We have tried very, very hard to arrange and accommodate as much as possible. Please be patient with us in all the arrangements, in all the situations. It could change very quickly. If we have more, we may have to move to another room. And that's a possibility. So be patient, and if that happens, just say, oh, we get to go to another room or something. Because it's not that we're trying to discourage you from coming. Come on in. We want you to come. There's a place right up here. Yeah. You can. That's good. But we need to comply with what the rules are. We wanted, first of all, it was suggested that we have only 3 to a table. 3 to 4. So when we realized how many books had disappeared, we thought, oh my goodness, we're going to have to do something else. If we wanted to use tables, then we needed to have no more than 4 at a table. And that includes not pulling a chair from the wall and sitting at a table. There should be ample room right now in this room to have 4 at the table. There are 11 tables. So that's how many? So I don't know how many we have right now. How many do we have?
46.
46. We've got 2 sitting on the outside over here. And we have put chairs around the wall for those that feel like they need a little more space. Do not be offended if somebody gets up and leaves your table and goes to a chair. They feel more comfortable that way. So let's work with that. As I said, the chairs and the tables have even been positioned and tweaked so that you're not sitting right in back of her, but you're sitting at an angle. We tried very hard, thought it through so long about how to arrange this. For this particular class, until we are advised otherwise, masks must be worn in the classroom. There are masks available if someone should forget it somewhere up here. And also the hand sanitizer stand is right outside the door. And Have you been to a nail salon lately?
Yes.
What do they do when you first go in?
Take your temperature.
They put you, they say, use your sanitizer before you even go and pick out your colors or whatever. So use this thing out here when you're coming in, when you're leaving. It's up to you. It's not demanding. Okay. We're going to ask you to provide your own pen and pencil for your writing. There will not be on your table for use, even though we have a nice stash of them over there. We're not going to put them on the table. You'll need to provide your own pen or pencil to write with. Oh, and this is a bummer. There'll be no tea, coffee, goodies, served. That was hard. You can bring your own water bottles, drink out of your water bottles. But when you're through sipping, put your mask back on. Right up here, lady. We got you set.
Scott feels like I need to pay attention.
Okay, I'll let you read over all the instructions. She's a nurse, so she's... But when you finish sipping on your water bottle, put your mask back on. And we don't want it hanging down from your ears. And so we're going to do it that way. Any questions or anything I've overlooked on this? Helpers, help me out. Anything I've overlooked? Okay. We are having a microphone this time. Are you able to hear me? Good. Good. We are being recorded for those that are homebound and wanted to be a part of the class. So it will be available for you. I don't know how, but it will be available. Now, this is just normal information that we always throw out there at the beginning of a class. Anytime, out of respect for our families that have a funeral or will be served meals here at the building, we will not have class. That's just an understatement because a lot of our women are involved with that and preparing and serving the meals. So we won't have class that way. In extreme cold weather or icy streets, class will not meet. If school's closed, we close. Use your common sense on it. If there's ice on the streets, I don't want to get out. You don't need to either. So use your common sense. So additional books will be ordered. And if you want one, oops, put your name on that list. And we'll see how many more we can get. Michael has been very, very patient and good with ordering our books.
They come in really quick, like in 2 days.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
So we'll get it to him today. And we may even have them in the office later this week. If you want to check into the office later, your name will be there. And you can get a book.
Or you'll definitely have them Sunday.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely have them Sunday. Okay. This thing is driving me crazy.
Michael doesn't like those things either.
Would you mind if I just took it off? I won't go any further than this, I promise. Can I?
You can for me. I don't care.
Is that okay?
Sure. Yeah.
Plus, it's hot.
Yes.
And you know me and my heat. I don't do heat.
I wondered if you were going to be able to do it. Because I do it all the time, and it's hard.
Yep.
I do have a mask that I will put on later. Now this thing is gonna. Lots of adjustments. Be patient, please. Our book. Have you had a chance to look at it at all? I think it's going to be a good one. I really do. Do you feel like you've been in some kind of bondage lately? I do. And it seems like everything has just been shut down. We've been restricted. You ever had a floater in your eye? That's what this feels like. It's supposed to be right there. Is it okay?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Bob tried to put it on me. He was too, he didn't know how to do it on my ears, so. I do feel that we're gradually coming out of it at this time, but we're not free yet. And it's been very interesting because our nation is in a huge mess right now. So much anger, so much hatred, so much abuse. We've got all kinds of issues, abortion, rioting, just plain fires, arsonists, things that are going on that are just so contrary to the way God wanted it to be. We have been in a bondage, but that's nothing new. God's people mess up all through history and have been in bondage of some kinds at different times. And as the wise man Solomon said, nothing is new under the sun. It just seems to have a rotation. We don't seem to learn from the mistakes that we make. So it was interesting to me that 4 years ago, we were pretty much in the same situation that we're in now. It was right before a presidential election, and things were not good. Our military was in danger. Attacks were coming from everywhere. Our leaders were not leading well. And things were in chaos again. And we had a study at that time. I don't know, some of you may remember it. But it was called A Light in the Darkness. You remember that? By Cassandra Martin? Wonderful study. And it was a study of Elisha and Elijah and how God used them during this time. Things were so dark and so bad and so corrupt that the children of Israel had completely left God. This is a statement that Cassandra penned. The story of Elijah and Elisha is the story of our own times. Now, Cassandra made this many years ago. And as someone said this morning, who was it that said to me that the writing of our book was done in 2018? Who said that to me? Somebody did. Yes, over there. And it applies today. So these writers know what they're talking about. These two men were called by God to stand as lights in a sin-soaked, sex-drenched, compromise-filled world. Sound familiar? God called you and I to stand and shine in the same way that they did. The power of the prophet's story is that it is really the story of God. God loves. God works. God calls. God shines. And in this story that he longs for you to make your own, the story of a light that shines in the darkness. That was her writing about this book. Hope. Have you ever been in a state where you lost hope? A situation where you did not feel comfortable at all? A state of depression? Have you ever experienced deep depression? If you have, there is a sense of hopelessness. Nothing is worthwhile. It's a deep, dark pit hole. There's no way out of it. So, hope is a very important subject. Even after rising from the worldly conditions that the times of 3 years ago, our COVID-19 and the basic world has been shut down. And we're still in a mess. And we need encouragement. We need hope. We're coming out of it. God still provides and God still cares. God, I am convinced, has heard the many, many prayers that have been ushered to him. He still hears prayers. He still will respond. And I feel that there is a really good surge of prayer answers coming. For our nation, we need to have prayers. For our families that are struggling, we need to have prayers. For our teachers that are struggling now with trying to educate the children through unfamiliar territories. It's a stress, it's a struggle, it's a strain. And they are hurting physically and emotionally. So we need to be the light. We need to be that hope. We need to be that encouragement to someone who has lost hope, who needs it. Emily Prowl and some others have wanted to get together a prayer group, strictly voluntarily, and pray for the condition of our nation and what all is going on. And it's not going to be something that's compulsory. You can pray one week with them and you can not go the next week. Tell us a little bit, Emily.
I was talking with Sue Rogers and we were thinking maybe,
Speak loudly.
Sue Rogers and I were thinking, trying to come up with a time, and if some of y'all would like to pray after this class is over on Tuesdays, maybe from 11 to 12, if it's, an hour or less, or whatever it takes. Just any of you that would like to, just praying for our country, all the issues we're dealing with. I mean, 6 to 7 weeks, before the election. We can, I know everyone's been praying, but just as a concentrated time to pray. And just see me afterwards if we can decide where we want to meet. Just see me after class today.
She will be the go-to person on that. Christy, would you like to introduce your thoughts on some prayer groups?
Yeah, I'm gonna take this off. So I was just thinking about us being in the smaller groups now, and it's different, right? Because we're not sitting with the same people we always sit with, Becky. but it's also an opportunity, right? Like we're meeting new people who might normally we wouldn't even speak to because of how crowded it is. And I was thinking about that and the opportunity it affords us in terms of prayer. And what I was thinking, my idea was, and I'd like to encourage y'all, is each day when we come, just write down the names of the women who are at your table. That's only going to be maximum 3 other women. And you write down their names, and then throughout the week, you just make sure you spend some time praying for them. And if you have a specific concern you want to share with your small table, because it's much more intimate than sharing it with the whole class, then you have that. But even if there's something on your heart that you don't want to share with everybody, you still have the assurance that 2 to 3 other women are praying for you, and that God knows whatever the needs are that are on your heart, even if you didn't share them. So I wanted to encourage y'all to do that as we go through this class this year.
Okay, sounds like a good idea to me, great idea. Hope, what is it? What is it to you? This is that time when you interact with me. Nobody's got it today?
At least that better things are on their way.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a scripture in Hebrews that just came to my mind that says, because of the hope set forth before him, he endured the cross. You talk about hard times. There's no one that had a harder time than Jesus did. And yet he never gave up hope. Because of what he knew was going to be in the future. Because he knew and trusted the promises of God. That there was hope beyond imagination. Ladies, we must never give up hope. And I know at times during these 5 months or whatever time, and you've been at home, you've been sick, you're wondering, wow, how is this going to end? Don't ever give up hope. As long as there's life, there's hope. So trust Him. Trust God's promises. He will never leave you. He will always be with you. He'll be in front of you, behind you, and to your sides. He will fight battles for you. But don't ever give up that hope. Hope to me is joyful expectations. I'm expecting. I'm not maybes. I'm expecting wonderful things through God. And I'm expecting to see heaven one day. That's joyful. That's joyful expectations. We need to always have that in our minds. In your book, if you have access to your book, look at the back. Our writer said, and you can share and look, but our writer said, hope is not wishful thinking. It is a strong, confident expectation for the future. Well, that's powerful. Nehemiah. This is where we get into this character that we're going to be studying. Nehemiah was one of the best examples of hope and how he maintained his hope. He knew how to live with the hope only God can give. And after boldly requesting permission from the king to rebuild the walls of Jerusalem after the Babylonian exile, he restored the city and called his people to follow God's way only. Despite opposition, are you having opposition? Is our nation having opposition? Absolutely. Despite opposition on all sides, Nehemiah saw God transform a cupbearer, which he was, into a contractor. He runs a city, and his wayward people he brings back to follow God. Hope opens doors, doesn't close them. Despair closes them. Hope can change anything. And these little studies, these 20-minute studies per day, not long, doesn't take a lot of your daily time, can help you build and strengthen your hope. We have to think also, I want you to go back also to pages 11. There's some highlighted things here. Pages 11. This is one of the neat things about this book. On the sides over here, you have some little side notes that are very important as far as finding out the situation, the current situation that's going on, and some of the time periods and what's happening. What has happened in the book of Nehemiah, if you will look down at the bottom of page 11 on the right, Judah and Israel had persisted in stubborn unfaithfulness to the Lord. These are the children of Israel, those who were supposed to be lovers of God. But they were unfaithful to the Lord. And they were in captivity. God allowed them to be in captivity for 70 years. Now that in and of itself would be a hopeless situation for a lot of people. But Nehemiah rose up, even became very important to the king. He used his situation for betterment. Following 70 years of captivity in Babylon, it was time for Judah to be restored. At this politically delicate and critical time, God placed Nehemiah in a position of trust and influence in the palace of the most powerful king in the Near East, Xerxes. You may be in this position today, in your household, in your community, in your church, in your school, in your class, your painting classes, at your home, wherever you are, to be that one person who can encourage and cause others to be enlightened, to encourage their hope. The themes of this book are obedience, prayer, restoration, and the good hand of God. And this book, as you will see, is written in the first tense. It's as though Nehemiah were writing the story himself. I did this. I spent days in prayer. I went before the king. But it's saying that he didn't actually write it. Ezra. And a lot of times the books of Ezra and Nehemiah are very closely similar there. So in your studies, pay attention to these side notes. They give you lots of information as to what's going on. Why Nehemiah? Why now? Because to me, it's a rebuilding. It's a coming back. It's coming home. Rebuilding the values that we've had and somehow lost in the process. Now, I know that I'm speaking to the cream of the crop. You've not lost your values, but sometimes they've been threatened. Been temptations. So whatever we are in a rebuilding situation. Kindling that hope again. Not letting it fade. Being the one in your family, in your circle, that is the one that's going to still give hope. It's going to be better. Even if it doesn't get better here, we look beyond the present situation to that hope that's before us and strive for that. On the next page, you're going to see just some highlighted things. And I'm not going to go into a lot of this, but we need to be aware. We need to tune in to what's happening. Not stick our heads in the sand and let the world go by. Let our chances and opportunities go by. Be aware. Tune in to what's going on in your family. There's never a time you can let down. I want you to know, some of you have been praying with me for a long time about a granddaughter that was very, very wayward. I want you to know that that relationship broke. She's now in a relationship with a nice young man. There's hope. You don't ever give up hope. You keep that pray going. Thank you for praying. Keep going. It's not finished yet. Pray constantly. Pray constantly. And then when you pray, let's wait for God's answer. Sometimes we bulldoze right in. We don't give God a chance to tell us. Take Nehemiah's recommendation on how he did it and see how he did it. Wait for God's answer. Be prepared for whichever way it goes. Like someone said, you don't turn loose of one rope until you have another rope to hang on to. Or you don't turn loose of one job until you have another one in line. You don't cut your neck from being saved. Expect. Says here under that, be prepared. Nehemiah prayed before starting the work of rebuilding. It was a good thing because he was immediately faced with challenges that required diplomacy and preparedness. Diplomacy. You got that in your homes? Expect obstacles. It's not going to be easy. Are you surprised, dismayed? Don't be. The devil doesn't bother with efforts that have no impact on the kingdom of God. He's attacking from every angle right now. The devil is at work. Don't be surprised. Stand up for what is right. So Sunday night in our small groups, we were talking about our current situations, and you know, there are a lot of times that you feel like I'm not doing anything. I'm worthless. I'm not doing anything. I'm not out teaching somebody else. I'm not knocking on the door, and I'm limited to what I can do. And you know, sometimes you get those feelings. John Harrington spoke up and said, I asked the question, I said, well, what do we do? John said, stand. To me, that was profound. Because if you remember in Ephesians, when we were given the instructions about wearing the armor of God, you put all this stuff on. And then what does he say? Stand. When you're all prepared and you got it all together, just stand. Stand up for what is right. You may not be liked. You may have a tomato thrown at you. You may even face physical danger. But stand. Stand for what's right.
I saved a quote on my phone just yesterday that's about that. It's from Eli Witzka, and he's an American Jewish writer. He's just got some amazing stuff out there. But he says, always take sides. Neutrality helps the oppressor, never the victim. Silence encourages the tormentor, never the tormented. And I thought that went along exactly with what you were saying.
If you don't speak up, it's like you're consenting. And then she says, fasten your seatbelts. Be prepared to roll with it. Be prepared to roll with the opportunity to impact God's people. And on page 14, she uses the scripture from Colossians 3:17, and whatever you do in word or deed, do all in the name of the Lord. Our God will fight for us. Nehemiah 4:20 tells us, our God will fight for us. Then that next little statement, don't let fear. Are you fearful? Are you fearful of COVID? Are you fearful of flu? Are you fearful of cancer? Those are detrimental things that we all have a little bit of concern and fear for. But let's not be overcome with fear. Don't let fear. Ha! Yes, sir. I agree. Opposition. Now, these are good words, ladies. We need to think about these. Don't let fear or opposition, obstacles, ridicule, complacency, whoa, jealousy, statistics, comfort, or skeptics be the walls that make you, what's the word? In bondage. Don't let those be to keep you from being the woman that God has called you to be. Those are words that I think we've all struggled with at times. Be prepared. Be strong, faithful, prayerful, determined, and delighted to do the work of the Lord. We live in a very unpredictable world right now. Let's not be dismayed. God is with us. He loves us. We can have strong confidence in Him. We can have a hope that will not be shaken. That's my encouragement for you today. I want you to look forward to what we're going to be studying. It's going to be good. They're going to be short lessons. I'll give you just a quick run, and then I'm going to let some of the teachers tell you how they plan to do theirs. But it's designed to have a 20-minute study each day for 5 days. Each of our leaders has requested that we do that lesson in 2 weeks. So you will have the same leader for 2 weeks, completing their lesson. Maybe she'll have you read 3 days, or 2 days, whatever. That's up to them. But that's kind of the format of what we're going to be doing. Let's see. I wanted to name, and I hope I don't leave somebody out. Oh my goodness. I wanted to introduce the leaders, the ones who are going to be leading the class, and those that have helped. We have some that are going to be substitutes, some that are going to be helping whatever needs to be done. So, we got Misty Clark. If you will stand, Misty, and just stay standing, okay? Lori Lum. Kayla Montgomery. Christy Griggs. Kathy Minaw. Barbara Royal. These are our teaching class leaders here, okay? We have some substitutes of Kay Harrington, and Pat Beebe. Yes, ma'am. You can't get out of this. Karen McKay. And Karen decided to go to Colorado and spend a few days up there. So she's not here, but she's gonna be a part of this. Okay, y'all can sit down. Wait a minute. Kathleen Posnick, is gonna be our card lady this time. We won't do signing today, but she'll get probably set up out there like we've normally done. She's gonna, and Kay Petty had it last year, but she has had a couple of falls and is in bed right now and not gonna be taking care of it. So, okay, Joe Crouch has also been on this group.
Yeah, in charge of chairs.
So, I want you to know that these women have been so faithful and energetic in getting all of this going. I didn't want to do it by myself. I needed ideas and how to put it all together. So I appreciate them so much. Okay? Okay. Did I leave anybody out? Throw a rock if I did. Okay.
You might need to put your mask on.
Okay. Yeah, all right. Now,
No, I was just teasing about that.
oh,
I was just teasing. I just said if you want rocks thrown at you, you might want to put your shield on.
okay, next week is going to be Misty.
Yes.
So Misty, I would like for you to pull your mask down and tell people what you want them to do.
Okay, we're getting started with lesson 1. It starts out with Nehemiah 1:1. So I want you to prepare and do lesson 1, days 1 and 2. It'll take you to the middle of page 29.
And that's it?
That's it.
Okay. The reason for being here at 9:45 is to find your place. And remember what we discussed about tables, about chairs, about the moving and all that kind of stuff. But it's also a time for you to do the card signing. And Kathleen will have it set up to where all you have to do is come and use your pen to sign the card. And then that's it.
Can I have one thing, Barbara?
Okay.
You're going to need a journal, a notebook of some sort to follow along with the study. She doesn't give you room to write the answers for most things, especially in the, let me look, in the live it out section. And that's where you're really, really applying this to your lives. So I suggest that you get a journal. I was nerdy, and I have to show you mine matches the cover of our book. So you don't have to be nerdy. Just get some paper at your house, get a font book or something. But go ahead and record your answers, and there won't be room in the book for it.
In the back of the book, there are several pages, empty pages, that you could jot down some notes or something on there. Okay? And don't forget to sign the sheet if you do not have a book and you want one. Okay? And Misty, would you go ahead and lead us in a closing prayer? Does anyone else have anything to say?
It just says in here that Leanna was still struggling, but she passed on Saturday. So I need prayer for her mama, Brianna, and Lauren.
Yes, ma'am.
Susan Bird's daughter, Robin, is about to start chemotherapy, and it's gonna be strong, hard chemotherapy for 4 weeks, and then she's gonna have her bladder removed. So keep that family in your prayers.
My mom is going for tests tomorrow. They think that her pancreas is shutting down. Just pray for her right now.
Can you remind me of her name?
Connie Vogler.
Okay, thank you.
She has chronic pancreatitis. Sorry.
My daughter-in-law, Caitlin is, she
issues with her hands and her arms and her shaking. And, so she went to a doctor yesterday and they're scheduling an appointment with a neurologist. So if you can keep her in prayers, I appreciate it.
My husband Ted, fell and fractured his femur. And so he had surgery yesterday and he's doing okay, so.
And it wasn't a helicopter propeller?
No,
that you had in-
no, it wasn't. He fell off a trailer.
There's
He'll
a
probably tell
long
you
story
something
between
different.
your husband and
He'll probably
me.
tell you something different, yes.
Okay, is there anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I have a very dear friend, Lynn, and she is suffering from a very deep depression, and she lost her husband a year ago, and she's just kind of gone off the deep end. Her daughter has come back out here and took her back to California for some treatment, and I talked with her yesterday.